Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. This gentleman has made it his life's work to help people further their careers, really perform at higher levels than they ever expected. And he's done that as being a certified executive coach through Marshall Goldsmith. He's the founder of Coaching for Relevance. Today, some deeper insight on leadership, what that looks like, and how you can lead in a better way. He's back with us. Randy Swaim is on the program. Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Good. How you doing there?
Fantastic. And again, congratulations on your autobiography. The reviews are great, very well received. Fantastic.
Yeah, and we'll share a little bit about that because it's a fundamental part of kind of what I was going to share on the show today. Because leadership is not just about pointing fingers and controlling and dictating and all that. If somebody's focus is just on being a dictator, you're not leading and you're not developing. And that's an insight that a lot of people, as you know, one of the dysfunctional things that exist in some areas today is the idea where people think that it's just, my job is to just make you submit and commit to me and leave it at that. Guess what? If that's your only mindset, you're not leading and you're not making the difference. And so it is sort of interesting. And I'll share this because I know our time is not a full hour and a half or anything like that kind of thing. But I'll share just kind of a little bit of a humorous thing that it's a story. I think I just mentioned to you about my great granddaughter. And I love my two great grandkids. I will never put them aside for any reason. If they ever need any help in anything, I will be there if I need to. But it was kind of humorous, but it's also a little bit of a touch of insight into what I'm talking about. Just kind of a little bit of a picture of it. But she and her brother, her younger brother, who is 11 years old, flew with their grandmother up to Arizona and spent some time with a couple of family members there. Got to go into pools and swim and all that sort of stuff, have a good time, and then flew back. And when she got back, she texted me, and one of the things she said is we're back and good, all that kind of stuff. Good to say. And I texted her and I said, well, listen, I know that was your first flight. Hope it went well and stuff like this. And she texted me back and she said, yeah, well, I got over my fear of flying. And I thought, okay, cool. But then she added a point and she said, but you don't realize the reason or how I did. And I went, how? And she said, because I envisioned Papa Randy was piloting it, kind of thing. And I thought, that was kind of humorous, but I appreciated it. But you know what? When you have people that have a little bit of an insight and trust in you and just what you are and how you work and how you interact and all that, sometimes that can be a big thing. And I'll just share just to make sure that we have the time well and everything on here. As you know, the autobiography was published about a week and a half ago, and on August 14th, which is I think the second Wednesday in August at 12 o'clock noon on Central Time, we're actually going to have on Zoom a 1 hour discussion and a book launch where anybody can come in and view it, join in with it and all that kind of stuff. Nice. And there's already some people that are registering into wanting to be there for it and all this sort of stuff. So it's going to be cool. And we're going to let them contribute any insights that they have or any experiences that they had where they had to overcome something, and share and chat and all that. And so it's going to be kind of cool on that. But when you talk about the autobiography, some of the feedbacks that I've been getting are really interesting when you're truly understanding leadership, because a lot of people don't realize what I mentioned a minute ago is if you're just playing dictatorial control freak things because you think that's what you're supposed to do, you are not leading. You're throwing leader leadership in the trash. And I'll just kind of share with you. I think I shared it on a previous show one, just very quickly. But one of the ladies that had read my book, she was actually a pastor's wife, and she and her husband had been a missionary in Australia for a number of years and all. But I knew she was reading it, and I told her, I said, well, listen, I hope you're enjoying it. And she looked at me. She said, Randy, I'm almost done with it. She said, I'm about to conclude it. And she said, it's awesome. And she said, I want to share one insight that I got with it. And I said, what's that? And she said, you know what, Randy, I so appreciate the honesty you brought to your story. And what she realized is, as you know, a lot of people today are just out trying to sell themselves and all this kind of stuff, and tell stories in a way where people just want to capitulate to them and think that they are everything, and all this kind of stuff. But she was very appreciative of how I did it differently, where I brought, in some cases, some of the struggles that I had, some of the things that I overcame in my journey, and things of that nature. And she really appreciated that part of it. And what was kind of interesting was I had another lady that told me once she finished reading it, she said, the thing that stood out to me, and this lady, I think is around 80 years old, but she said, do you know why? The one thing that stood out to me, and I said, what's that? And she said, I realized how because she and I had chatted before and realized that we had some similar struggles in our individual life journey and everything. And she said, I was amazed at how you were able to overcome what I never even knew how to overcome. And I said, well, first of all, thank you for saying that, but hopefully it gave some insights. And she said, oh, it did, and everything. And then there's one guy at work who's a fellow instructor pilot over at the airport yesterday that is basically almost done reading it. And one of the things that he said, and I found it kind of amazing, he said, we were just chatting, and he said, well, I got to tell you something, Randy. He said, I so appreciate your story and your book and everything. And then he said this, he said, there's one thing you don't realize. And I said, what's that? He said, a number of the quotes that you included in there, because one of the things that I did is I brought some real, truthful quotes that came from the learning part of my journey, kind of thing and everything. And he said, you don't realize this, but he said, what I'm doing is I'm writing down some of those quotes because I want to commit a few of those quotes to absolute memory in my mind. And he said, and I said, well, shoot, thank you. I said, I'm humbled by that. I appreciate that. And he said, yeah. But in talking about it, when you're talking about true leadership, it's not about you just playing dictatorial games and making everybody just fall on the floor and commit and submit to what you tell them to do. That is not leadership. That's dictatorial, control freak, management. That's not leadership. Leadership, and a lot of these people that have read my book so far are sending back some incredibly positive aspects of it. And a big part of that is because their experience is different. And what I'm aware of is even people that I work with over at the airport, generally speaking, have an experience with me. Not that I'm just kind of telling them what to do or trying to teach them something or anything like this, but the way I connect with them, the way I interact with them. And there are a couple of people, one I mentioned in the autobiography that, he was dealing with a struggle. And one of the things that I told him is I said, that was a struggle in my journey at one point. And he said, you know what, if I can overcome it, you can. And so, the thing where you're just trying to bring all the attention on yourself and get everybody to just pat you on the back and stuff, that is not leadership. That is dictatorial, narcissistic management. And so when you talk about your team, and this is even more pronounced if you're talking about this type of thing where you're in a rapidly changing, unpredictable, varying environment. You know, not everything is just perfect. Not everything is rote academic. You know, if you're just trying to fit some academic thing and saying, do this, and when it doesn't work, you just cast blame and say, well, that should have been like this, and it wasn't. Well, you know what? If it wasn't, a leader would have had that vision and insight of it to understand how your team needed to kind of do things just a little bit different, and to be successful and things like that. So when you're talking about that aspect of it, you know, it's been kind of amazing to me, a lot of the feedback that I've gotten, a lot of the comments that people have said when they've started reading my book, and when just in a number of cases, people that just wanted to purchase the copy of it. And I was sort of surprised that some of the pilots that I've actually trained and given check rides to over the last few weeks, I found out after the fact, after they had already gone home. There's one guy that I was teaching the first part of this week, and guess what? One of the things that he said is, he said, yeah, I called this, I won't give his name because I didn't ask him if I could give his name or whatever, but the client said, yeah, I was on the phone with this guy, and he said he bought your book, he's really looking forward to reading it. And I went, really? He goes, yeah. I went, wow. So it's just, the aspect when you're talking about leadership, it's not about, trying to play little dictatorial games with people. It's about helping people experience who you truly are and making it so that they want to mold and adapt themselves and the team to a certain point that is aligned with you as a team. But also, it's not because you're just dictating to them, it's that they want to be a part of what you and the team are doing and where you're going. And it's just a key aspect about that when you are talking about being successful and really generating success in your team. And the other part of it too is, when you think about it, some of the people on your team may become senior manager people in your company 5 or 6 years from now, or 10 years from now. And you know what are you doing for your company's future? If you're having people just shut off their brains and and submit to what you tell them to do, you're not developing that future potential in your company or in your organization or in your team. And so all of those are aspects when you're talking about true leadership that is a lot different than the vast majority of people today really understand. And so it is sort of an interesting concept on that. And like I said, one of the points with me just in the last probably 2 weeks has been in the feedback that I've gotten from people that read my autobiography, and just a lot of the comments that they've made, because that's a good picture of that part of the leadership of what, when you get people that they want to be part of your team, not because what you're telling them what to do, no, but they want to be a part of your team because of the oneness, the synergy, the belief in where we're going. Not only that, but the belief in what we as a team are becoming, not just what we're talking about right now, but what we are actually becoming in going forward, to where we can have radical success in completely unpredictable, unexpected challenges, and all of that, and have confidence in that. In the military, one thing that is very important is when you're having to go into battle, do you have true confidence with what is possible? Are you aware of kind of things that are happening? Same thing with an organization. Not everything is going to be just rote academic. And if you're just going to that and trying to dictate to your team, well, this is just what it's supposed to be, guess what? May not be. If you're doing that, you're setting your team aside, and you're turning their brains off, and you're turning off their growth and their development to get there. And so it's just interesting. And I just found that kind of a little bit of a humorous thing, like I said, with my great granddaughter's line there, but also with some of the feedback that I've gotten from my autobiography just so far right now, with some of the comments that people have made back, because they experienced just in reading my story, in reading it, they found a very different experience than they see with a lot of books where people are just trying to call attention to themselves and everything, and they got a lot of value out of it. And so, you know, that is a key aspect of leadership, and that when your team feels valued, it is incredible, because they begin to sense deep inside that there is amazing things that we can accomplish, even though I didn't have a picture of it beforehand. And you know what? Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this, you know, kind of thing. And, you know, when your people feel valuable, when they sense your experience of how you value them and believe in them and believe in their development journey, amazing things can happen for your team and your thing. So it's just something to think about. It's not just an academic thing of dictating and pointing fingers and, you know, telling them what to do and all that. It's that relationship. It's how you're building it. It's how you're developing it, and also developing yourself. And, you know, when you think about leadership and you're talking about modeling certain behaviors and certain things, guess what? Part of the modeling is your team sees that you are still modeling your own growth as you go forward. You're playing a leadership role in that, where when they see that in you, they're sort of following that also. And so when you think about leadership, it's not just a cold academic, you know, school answer. It's very often very deeper.
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up there. When your team sees that you are working to better yourself as the team leader, it's respectable, because they're seeing that, yeah, there is room for growth. It's not like you're the king of the hill. I know everything. I've got everything up here. And one thing, in mentioning all those reasons why people follow leaders, trust.
That's right. That's right. Trust in the journey, trust in what you're doing. If you're modeling it, you know what? I can do that. Yeah. Let's go forward. And, you know, in my autobiography, I talk about the 4 defining moments in my life. And the 4th defining moment was only 14 years ago. So it's when I was 56 years old in 2010 or so. And it's like, you know, the journey of development never stops. And that's what true leaders understand. And in fact, I've had a lot of people align with what you said. I've had a lot of people ask me, when are you going to retire? And I look at them with a smile and I say, when I take my last breath, because you know what? I'm going to run through the tape. And for me, I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep that journey growing right until I take my last breath.
I 1,000,000,000% agree with you. And I don't begrudge anybody who has retired. Maybe somebody that is in public service and they retired early. Good for you. That's it. You know?
True statement.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of military members that have retired. I appreciate your service. No two ways about it. Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting. Many of those who have retired are still doing something on the side, because they can't stop, because they have so much to give of themselves. I want to go back to something you said a little while ago.
Okay.
Talking about quotes, and it made me wonder, what quote stands out in your mind?
Oh, wow. There's just,
I know it's not easy, but is there one?
There are so many of them, but there's not one that comes to mind right now, but I know there's so many of them, a number of them that I sort of included in my autobiography and stuff. And a lot of them were just insights that I had in there. But there's just a lot of quotes, I think.
Sure.
But I think that I think one of the big quotes that comes to mind is, and if I remember correctly, I'd have to go back and double check. I included it in my book, but it's I think it's and it's actually on the front page. In fact, I tell you what, just very quick, I got just
Yeah,
a
sure.
second
I'm the
here.
worst at
'Cause
remembering those things, and I've
yeah,
tried to get better, but for me to remember them, it's like I got to repeat them 1 million times
yeah,
over and over again.
yep. And this is a real good story of my journey, but this is a quote that is on the first couple of chapters at the very beginning of it, on the forward, and it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it's a good quote, because here's what it says. It says, "Go not where the path may lead. Go instead, therefore, where there is no path, and leave a trail."
Hmm.
And you know what? That has been a big
Wow.
aspect of my life journey and everything. But that's why I included it in there. But that's one of the
Says a
quotes
lot
that
about
I so
leadership.
appreciate. Yep.
That really does. And something else that I'm going to I'm going to be thinking about very deeply. You said 4 defining moments of your life.
Yeah.
And in a hot second here, I don't even know what they are. I have an idea of one of them because it's most recent.
Yeah.
Call it in the last 3 or something years, that made me realize things in myself. But prior to that, I don't know. And it's challenging because
Yes, it is.
how do you define a defining moment? Like what is that? Is
Well,
it you got
yeah.
a great job? Yeah. What is
Well,
it?
a defining moment is not just a point where you learned a little thing or it just things got big. For me, and I had four of them in my life's journey. There were four defining moments where everything about your journey just changed. You grew,
Hmm.
you became, you changed, your
Yeah.
insight, your vision got different.
Yep. Yep. Totally got it.
And the defining moment is something where the underlying definition of your life's journey and your purpose was adapted, tweaked, changed, not because it was wrong, but because you got perhaps more clear of the
Mm,
direction. And I've had four defining moments in my life, and the book covers every one of them.
mm.
And
I
so
would read
it's
the book just for that because
yeah,
I would like to apply that to my life to figure out what those defining moments are. Um,
yeah,
and to your point, the one that I referred to for me, the last, what I would say is one of my four, um, it did it did show me my purpose. It did show me resilience, a number of things.
yeah.
Definitely will put that up there. But the other three, I'm like,
Who knows? And you may have only had two or three, kind of thing, but
yeah,
because we're all a little bit different.
sure.
But in my life, I've had four that really defined my vision and my journey, and had a lot of the dreams that I had as a kid come back to invade me. And it was like, oh yeah, yeah,
Mm, mm,
kind of thing. And I'll tell you what, it's brought me to where I am right now, to coaching other people, to
for sure.
publish, having this book out there. If anybody wants to get the book and kind of read it like you were talking about, they can go to my website and go to the homepage of Coaching for Relevance up here. And if you go to the website, about 3 seconds after you're on the homepage, it comes up with a banner for the autobiography. And down at the bottom of that little banner there, you can click on the X up here and it'll just kind of make it go away. But at the bottom of the banner, there's a little thing that says "Get your copy," and
Mm,
if you click on that, it takes you right to the. For anybody that's interested, it takes you right to the Amazon page where you can purchase it and get it sent
awesome.
to you. And
Uh,
so it's just something to think about on that. And but I tell you, the impact that I've been getting and the feedback that I've been getting from people that have read it and all kind of show a lot of what I talked about today. It's because it's what their experience of it is making a difference, and it's not just dictatorial, control freak, narcissistic stuff. It's their experience and
it's
how it's
real
real, and it
leadership.
yep,
Yeah.
and it's real, and it's how it is affecting their life right now. And
Randy, good talk today.
cool.
Really, really good stuff. Like just as always. And when you give somebody something to think about, you've achieved your goal. You gave me a lot to think about, and the rest
Well, I'll
of us
tell you
as
what,
well.
I'm glad, brother. And I'll tell you what, I appreciate you. I've appreciated being on a lot of the shows with you. And I look forward to being on the shows some more with you. So that's
Same here.
I definitely appreciate it, my
All
friend.
right. Thanks a lot, and looking forward to the official book launch online and all of that coming up in another month and a half or so.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So listen, I definitely appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks, Freddie. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.